All right, sorry guys, buckle up for this one. We have all obviously seen the widespread efforts being undertaken by the Trump administration to rid the United States of brown people in the form of immigrants from south of the border. And I've been waiting to kind of see what sorts of policies this government is going to implement in order to let's say, reduce the population of black people in the United States. And today we got a big chunk of that answer. Donald Trump recently appointed a woman named Harmeet Dhillon as the attorney in charge of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. I did a video a couple of days ago about how she is reshaping the Civil Rights Division in shifting its focus away from racial discrimination and shifting that department's focus towards ending discrimination against white Christians. I'm not kidding. She posted an op-ed today in the Wall Street Journal. It is entitled, "An End to Biden Injustice Against the Police." I wish I was kidding. She sees a huge problem relative to the Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division, and injustice towards police departments and police officers across the country. Police on average kill around 1,100 American civilians per year, although they really bumped it up a notch in 2023 and killed 1,329 Americans after killing 1,136 Americans in 2021. This op-ed comes just days before the 5th anniversary of the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which obviously kicked off a summer of global protests against police killing unarmed black people. Apparently, Harmeet Dhillon, in charge of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, is going to put an end to that kind of injustice and mistreatment of police officers. There's a good write-up on this in the Washington Post, and she is ending Biden-era investigations of multiple local police departments, including Phoenix, Memphis, Oklahoma City, Minneapolis, Louisville, Kentucky, where Breonna Taylor was murdered in her bedroom by police, and is retracting the government's conclusions that those police agencies had in any way violated the Constitution. Cool. She announced the decision to back away from broader federal oversight of police just days before the 5th anniversary of the killing of George Floyd, for which multiple police were convicted, and including Officer Derek Chauvin, who I believe was convicted of some degree of murder. I don't remember which. She said, "I'm not confident the Justice Department could stand up and justify any of these lawsuits in court and consent decrees. So when the federal government sues a local police department, they very often into what's called a consent decree, where the government will say, you need to make the following changes in how you conduct policing in your community. And the locality will sign that consent decree. They are consenting to this decree, and then they have to live up to the terms and standards that are within that document." She disagrees vehemently with the consent decrees that are currently in place for Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Louisville, Kentucky. She criticized both of those agreements as reliant on faulty legal theories. even though the mayors of both of those cities have said that they are going to comply with those consent decrees, and didn't ask for these consent decrees to be dismissed. They didn't ask. The Justice Department Civil Rights Division is just doing away with these consent decrees on its own motion. And by doing this, they're telegraphing a much broader message. And Donald Trump has already issued an order. He's issued 2 executive orders about doing away with the weaponization of the Justice Department and federal law enforcement that he believes took place under Joe Biden. And he literally issued an executive order titled something like "Unleash the Police." And those things combined with this series of decisions and instructions from Harmeet Dhillon, who runs the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, who is now going to be shifting her focus towards ending discrimination against white Christians in the United States and away from ending racial discrimination in the United States. All of these things together are sending, I think, a very, very clear message to police departments across this country that if things like the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Mike Brown in Missouri, unarmed black people who are killed by the police, that the federal government is no longer going to be prosecuting those cases or stepping in to do anything with those local police departments to ensure that those types of killings don't take place into the future. Over half, actually in the video that I did the other day about the Civil Rights Division, I noted that around 70% of the attorneys in the Civil Rights Division have left since Harmeet Dhillon has taken over, because they disagree vehemently with her shift in the focus of that department. The Civil Rights Division has been the crown jewel of the Department of Justice for almost 70 years. And again, as with so many other things in the executive branch, it is taking Donald Trump and his appointees less than 4 months to destroy that legacy of fighting for civil rights, fighting to end discrimination of all kinds. And this is just an absolute fucking travesty, man. It is an absolute travesty that these are the things that are being done. But I'm more fearful of the message that these collective actions are sending to police departments all across the country. And I believe that message is, in effect, police killing black people is basically not going to be illegal moving forward. That might be a bit of an overstatement, but I really don't feel like it is right now. I really don't feel like it is. Of course, the Fraternal Order of Police representatives are very happy with this decision from the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division and Harmeet Dhillon. As you know, police organizations, fraternal orders of police, were very happy with Donald Trump's executive order about unleashing the police. And, Donald Trump ran the most racist, misogynistic, bigoted presidential campaign in our lifetimes. Just overtly transphobic, racist, and misogynist. And it's like now that practice, that sentiment, that set of core values and principles for today's Trump supporting Republicans, those core values and principles of racism and misogyny are making their way into government policy that is going to trickle down to police departments across this nation, from coast to coast, from border to border. And it's it's about so much more than just these two, than just these consent decrees that are in place. I mean, by saying that, like, let's take Louisville, Kentucky. I mean, the police shot and killed Breonna Taylor as she slept in her bed inside her own apartment. And no one's ever been convicted of her murder. And the DOJ Civil Rights Division went to Louisville, Kentucky after that murder and reviewed their police department practices and procedures and put in place a consent decree by which the police department of Louisville, Kentucky was going to have to improve in multiple areas. And that goes away today. That goes away. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who represented the family of George Floyd, put out a statement saying these moves will only deepen the divide between law enforcement and the people they are sworn to protect and serve. Trust is built with transparency and accountability, not with denial and retreat. The American Civil Liberties Union said today, Wednesday, that it and local organizations were still seeking public records in places where the Justice Department had investigated local police forces, hoping that gathering the information would help these communities continue to push for accountability and reform. I mean, they're taking away the shred of consequences that existed. Again, it's like, yes, there were prosecutions relative to the murder of George Floyd. Nobody was charged with murder or with the death of Breonna Taylor, or as is true in so many of these other jurisdictions. And it's like the one thing these communities had to kind of hang their hat on as any little sliver of quote unquote justice in these cases were these consent decrees and the fact that the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice was involved in these cases and was taking a very active role in reforming these specific police departments. And now all of that's gone. All of that's gone with a 3-page op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. Not even. It's not even 2 full pages single-spaced. And all of that is gone. All of it is gone. And the message that is sending to police, to me, is fucking horrific. And it's essentially providing them with a permission structure. It's providing them with a wink, wink, nudge, nudge permission structure. And, you know, as I said at the beginning, you know, police kill on average around 1,100 Americans every year. That number has not gone down despite the summer of 2020. It went up to over 1,300 people in 2023. And so sadly, we know that this kind of a murder is going to take place again. Police have already killed something like 400 people in the United States this year. And it's just not that the United States was ever not a white supremacist patriarchal society, but the Trump administration explicitly just wants to make it worse and more openly white supremacist and more openly dominated by straight white Christian men who have secret Grindr accounts, but that's neither here nor there. They want this to be an authoritarian theocracy based on white supremacy, patriarchy, and evangelicalism, where it's essentially open season on black people by law enforcement. And that's going to expand beyond law enforcement, I would expect, fairly shortly. Many states are a lot of the way there with their stand your ground laws and almost zero gun control laws. But it's People are going to get killed. People are going to get killed, and nobody's going to pay a price for that. And I think that's the reality. But again, I don't really think that that's anything new in the United States of America. So, the thing that I say at the end of these videos now just seems kind of fucking ridiculous. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more videos like this, please click like. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to my page. It's free. I'm not a breaking news kind of guy, but I do talk about stories like this that I think are very, very important. And I found almost zero coverage on this. I found Harmeet Dhillon's op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, and checking multiple major news sites, I found one single article in the Washington Post. And it's like Trump and his administration flood this zone with so much shit that stuff like this tends to get lost in the shuffle. But I think that this is an incredibly important story. And I think that the consequences of this are going to be absolutely horrific. I think it's going to be horrific. And it's essentially the executive branch of the United States government using police departments all across the country to target black people in 2025. Be safe, everybody.